Department told people, Americans in Sudan, to shelter in place because of the violence in the streets. Well, within 48 hours, Chinook helicopters swooped into the embassy, took all remaining American personnel working there, and shut down the embassy. So now, upwards to potentially 18,000 Americans are abandoned in Sudan. Sound familiar? Well, yeah, it's pretty similar to what happened in Afghanistan. Well, what happened here? How did we drop the ball? And what about those remaining Americans? Let's bring in Lisa Daftari. She, of course, is the editor in chief at the Foreign Desk. And Lisa, yet another mess. This is becoming a pattern of behavior, isn't it?
Right. And the State Department just trying to play catch up and defend itself over what seems to be arbitrary decisions regarding American citizens left behind in Sudan. This morning, the State Department is telling media outlets that they have decided that it is too dangerous to try to evacuate those American citizens. And of course, as you said, Larry, American personnel working at the embassy were already evacuated over the weekend. So what gives? The State Department also pointing to the fact that they do not engage in evacuations and that Afghanistan was a special circumstance and that the better protocol in this case would be to have American citizens shelter in place until the chaos and violence calms down a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's quite a message to tell everyone to shelter in place. And they specifically said in their communique on April 20th, do not come to the embassy. And then within 48 hours, they helicoptered everybody out and shut down the embassy. I mean, if
Right.
you're an American in Sudan, what are you to do now? Let's go back for a moment. This has been a growing problem, has it not, Lisa? And I know that the American embassy there in the State Department, the diplomatic efforts, they were trying to structure some sort of deal. Russia got involved as well.
Mhm.
Why exactly did this happen so abruptly?
Right. It's a great question. Look, if you're an American in Sudan, what don't you do? You don't Google what happened in Afghanistan because you will not be happy about the results there. In
Yeah.
all seriousness, I think this points to a larger issue of the United States not having the same clout on the international stage, meaning if you're an American stuck in the danger zone anywhere in the world, traditionally you would find refuge at the American embassy. That's what they're for. That's what you look to your home country to help you. And in this case, a few days ago, the headlines out of the State Department and the Biden administration was that they were leaning towards, this is their language, leaning towards evacuations from Sudan. And as you said, it was only the personnel from the embassy and not those who are finding refuge at the embassy. So the American citizens being stuck there. Look, this all cycled pretty quickly, but for those of us like myself who've been watching it from the first hours, this was something to be expected. And it's not going to die down anytime soon, only because this is not something over, the left and the right, or certain factions of Islam versus another. These are two men who were hell bent on staying and remaining in power. And because there's an interim government there, neither one wants to back down, neither one wants to compromise, and both of them want to be involved in the future of the country. So these two militaries who were supposed to integrate and work together are now fighting one another instead.
Lisa, I'm no expert on international affairs in third world countries, but the coup occurred October, I think, of 2021, right? It's been over a year since there was a military coup in Sudan. And generally speaking, if there's a military coup, the military hangs on to power until they can either A, put a puppet in place, or until another military figure comes and topples them. That's just the history of the world, frankly. George Washington was the outlier. So, how can the American government, the Biden administration, say that what happened over the last couple of weeks took them by surprise? The coup happened over a year ago.
That's just a tagline of the Biden administration when it comes to foreign policy. Everything takes them by surprise, right? Look, they have had to have known that there is a vulnerability there, of course. As you said, look, you have an interim government. Interim government just means a weak domino that's ready to fall at any point, like you said, waiting for that, external or third element to now come knock it down. And that's exactly what happened. Interim government means up for grabs, especially in places where there are political vacuums and especially in places where there are these insurgencies like in Sudan. So it's exactly what you have. These two militaries were supposed to work together, but of course, when you have gold mines, when you have assets, when you have this power struggle, of course you're going to have this infighting because both of them want power and they're not able to come to terms or to compromise or to be able to integrate in a way where they want what's best for the nation. There is none of that, right? This is
Yeah.
just two men fighting for power, and of course the people, Americans, Sudanese, and others in harm's way.
So, and of course, you mentioned the rich resources in Sudan that have always been the target for various warring factions, but also geographically, this is a strategic position with its proximity to the Gulf and to the Suez Canal. So, I've got to think China and Russia, of course, are vying for having influence in this area. Are they both still on the ground in that country as America gets out of there?
Yeah, you point out something so interesting. If this was deep into Africa, where there wouldn't be any assets or there wouldn't be any kind of advantages, then you wouldn't see even these headlines, right? You and I probably wouldn't be having this conversation. It would be some African nation that nobody had interest in. But right now, you have Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Russia, China, of course, the United States, all involved in kind of hovering over and watching what's going to happen next. The State Department put out a comment that they're concerned that the Wagner Group, Russia's dirty work group that's involved in Ukraine as well, is involved on the ground there, is supplying military aid to the RSF, which is the military insurgency that's fighting the Sudanese army. Of course, again, when there are these benefits to be had, you're going to have all of these lurking groups and trying to take advantage, and again, that death toll rising while we watch who's going to take over this country.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I mean, like you said, this really shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat issue here domestically at home. We want to get our people home safe and sound.
Right.
But what's next? I mean, are we basically going to see domestic airlifts, domestic organizations, civilian organizations helping airlift people and shuttle them out of the country, Americans out of the country in a similar way we saw after Biden got out of Afghanistan?
Yeah, you know what, Larry? We're really stuck in this pickle, and I would assume is that because we're close to an election, it's horrible to say that because when you have American lives on the line, just like we did in Afghanistan, but we weren't that close to an election, perhaps because of the criticism in the aftermath of Afghanistan, we will see more action from the State Department. They are under tremendous scrutiny this morning, as of course people point out Afghanistan, they point out these American civilians, and they point out the hypocrisy, just like you did, that as to why the personnel from the embassy would be evacuated and their lives being more valuable than the American citizens there who were told to shelter in place. So I
Yeah.
do think in the next hours we're going to see some more action or lip service or both from the Biden administration, trying to kind of put together the pieces here, try to salvage something of a leadership, or put together some sort of facade of leadership to try to get, hopefully, some of those American citizens out. I hope I'm right, and I hope that they don't let us down again, and that it doesn't become a left right issue, and we don't sit here criticizing the Biden administration, but we do celebrate the fact that Americans are able to get out and get out safe.
Either way, Lisa Daftari, in the 2020 election, we were told that the grown-ups would be back in charge, and America's standing would be rosy again internationally. And I don't think this is what they had in mind, not by a long shot.
Yeah,
We'll have to leave.
yeah,
We got to leave it
it's
there. Lisa Daftari, the foreign desk is where you get some great insight into that region and other regions around the world. Lisa Daftari, a valuable voice there. Thanks for joining us. There's more to come on O'Connor tonight. Keep it here on Salem News Channel.